Right, so here's a question. Would you travel 174 miles round trip for a home match? From your hometown where the club is supposed to be playing, would you travel 174 miles there and back? Well, one team in the National League South has got to do that, and that's Truro City, and we'll find out why in this video. So the National League South club sold their home Truro Road, which has been their home for 50 years. They sold it in 2014 to some property developers. Now the plans are to build a retail park on the site, and the first build that's going to be happening is a Lidl supermarket, and this is going to be happening at the end of this month. Yes, just a few days away is going to be the start of when Lidl is going to be built on the ground. Now the fixture list has been released for the National League South as the 18-19 season. The first game against Billericay, just 12 days away, is completely in jeopardy now at Truro because there's going to be building works happening on the ground at that point. So it's a case of where do Truro go from this point? They have to find a solution very quickly, and that solution has been to go and move to Torquay United. They're going to be ground sharing at Plainmoor, and it's 174 miles to get there and back. But really, they've not got much choice because they sold the ground in 2014, but they were given a few extensions in terms of when they're actually going to be told to move out. So they've been able to stay there for the last 4 years. They've been given 3 extensions, and they knew that at some point during the 18-19 season they could be told to leave. They didn't expect it to be at this short notice, but that's the case. So the plan was for when Truro were to leave their ground, they were going to move in to the Stadium of Cornwall, which they were going to build and share with Cornish Pirates, who are a rugby union side. It would be a 10,000 capacity stadium located just 3 miles outside of Truro. It's going to cost between 14 and 24 million pounds to build, and they've got most of that funding now. In fact, them agreeing to move out of Truro Road this week has gained them an extra 2 million pounds in funding from the property developers that are going to be building the Lidl on the site. So that's going to really help them get it off the ground with this new stadium, and it's been something that's been in the pipeline for a very, very long time. Plans go back to around 2005 when they were looking at rebuilding a ground on the site of Truro Road. However, their plans changed and it's now going to be outside of Truro. But it's a long time in the making for them to be building a new ground, and it's just not really got anywhere in the last 13 years in terms of actually building anything because building work still hasn't started. Now, Torquay, in their announcement, they said that they have been looking at ground sharing with Truro at Plainmoor for 1 season while the new stadium is being built. So essentially, Truro have got to get their new stadium completely built in 1 year, or else what they do after that? Do Torquay allow them to stay even longer? Do Torquay then kick them out? Who knows? But realistically, they've got to be starting building work of the Stadium of Cornwall pretty much straight away if they stand any chance of starting next season it like they're suggesting. It's so harsh on their fans, and their owner has said that he is going to reimburse any season ticket holders if they don't want to now travel 174 mile round trip for every home match, and that's fair enough. Also, they're going to subsidise a coach to take fans from Truro over to Torquay, so that's a good thing to do, but still it's such a long way, and I can't get away from that point that it is just such a long distance. However, their chairman has come out and said that if they were to decline the opportunity to move out of Truro Road right now, then they would potentially not get the £2 million funding from the developers. So it's a crucial amount of money, and they had really no choice. They had to move out. So the Truro Independent Supporters Association have released a statement basically just saying how bad the situation is for the football club, and it is a disaster for Cornish football. So some of the things said in this statement include that we now find ourselves voluntarily vacating Truro Road without even the completed business case required to enable the government to consider providing the funds required to start work on the Stadium of Cornwall, a project which the current owners spent much of their tenure ridiculing rather than supporting. Much has been said about the current owners stepping in to save the club, but the reality is that whilst they have managed to maintain Truro City's place in step 2 of the footballing pyramid, the heart and soul of the club has been ripped out, as we have seen the reserve and ladies teams abolished, a failure to establish youth development scheme, the closure of the social club, and a general alienation of its fans and the Cornish footballing community. Of course, we desperately now hope that the Stadium of Cornwall comes to fruition, but the question for Truro fans is, will they even have a football club by the time that happens? It's a pretty damning statement from the supporters. They are massively against what is going on at the club right now, and there's part of this situation really that seems like the Stadium of Cornwall, because it's been ongoing for such a long time and they've been trying to find different sites for it, it's almost feels like it's never going to happen, and the fans have that sense they're going to end up staying at Torquay for pretty much the rest of their existence, and it's going to question how long the club can survive, because can a club survive where its fan base have to travel 174 miles each week for a home match? And because even with the £2 million that they have earned from the developers, they don't currently have enough funding to start building work on the Stadium of Cornwall. So it's a case of where they're going to get the rest of that money from. Will they be able to actually ever move into a new ground? Because the fees that are being talked about for building this new stadium are massive. Something that may be a possibility, could they just change the stadium size? Could they maybe make a smaller stadium that's got a smaller capacity? Because Truro City, they only get a few hundred people at each game. Could they make a stadium that has got a much smaller capacity than 10,000, because 10,000 is probably too much for them and it's a lot above what they need? Make a cheaper stadium with a lot smaller capacity that's in and around the Truro area. Doesn't have to be anything flashy. They can redevelop certain stands to make it bigger if they want to in the future, but for now, just find a home, find a permanent home that they can stay for the future, because that's the most important thing. Because Torquay, that's not a viable option for them to spend the next few years at. But that's all on the assumption that Stadium of Cornwall won't happen, and there's no evidence to suggest that it definitely won't happen, but it's looking unlikely that it's going to happen anytime soon. Certainly, it's going to be difficult to get the stadium built in time for the start of the 2019-20 season, which has been suggested in the Torquay statement. What do you think of the situation? Would you travel 174 miles for a home game? Let me know in the comment section down below. Yeah, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new around here. Check out my Facebook page on the screen right now, the link top line of the description. We're putting a lot of content on there recently, and we're now in less than a week, we're over 100 likes on that Facebook page, and you've been giving some really good support on that page, so really appreciate it, really appreciate the feedback you've been giving me as well on that. So yeah, hope to see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.